You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, everybody. Tonight, where you normally see Kyle, he is off with his court-mandated therapy session because of the llama. It'll be Jay and I as we talk about books like West of Sundown #2, Vampirella Strikes #1, Cold Iron #1, Grim #1, Avatar Adapt or Die There's a lot of #1s. Yeah. We're going to talk about a lot of new books tonight. Right here on In Stores this week. Stay tuned. All right, everybody. I'm Dan. Jay.
On the side.
I knew you were going to be over there, but I pointed this way anyway. So how you doing tonight, Jay?
Oh, pretty good, boss. How you?
I'm good. All right. So we have no Kyle tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that llama incident's just going to linger, ain't it? So, all right. We got about a dozen books to cover. We got starting off with one that we were going to talk about last week, and it turned out it didn't ship. It was going to ship this week. So that is the Ballad of Ronan from Action Labs. I have the mind of a goldfish, so I'm going to let Jay talk about this one because he takes notes where I wing it. Yeah. So take it away, Jay.
So this one kind of starts out like it's going to be this ancient tale, and the opening of this book hits me in the feelings already with what happens. Then it feels like there's just the shift to where it's modern day, and it's still steady punching me in the gut because it follows the story of a young lady who's about to age out of an orphanage, so she can't be adopted anymore. And this was a tough book to read. Like, it was good, but there was moments where you feel for the character. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say this: the art is kind of a bit all over the place. There are some parts where it's really, really good, and there are other parts where it's not so good. Very, very muddy, very muted looking in places. This one, it ends on a cliffhanger, and the cliffhanger for me was just enough to where I was like, you know what? I would read another issue as long as it resolves this cliffhanger. Like, don't lead me on with more filler. Mm-hmm. We got plenty of exposition in this first one. Let me see some action. But wasn't bad. I was a little sad we didn't get to talk about it last week because it wasn't out because, I read it. I'm just going off the notes I had for it last week. So yeah. But all in all, it was a good story.
Yeah, I remember it now. I remember the story about her aging out at the orphanage, and the priest being the one that really tried to connect with her. Mm-hmm. But it's a little cliche in the orphan who doesn't connect with anybody, but I understand it. But it is a well-traveled road. Yeah. So I'm curious how it ties into the other story, what all the connection's going to be. I mean, obviously she's that kid or somehow related to that kid. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's an interesting start. I'm curious where it's going to go. Yeah. This is going to be one of those that the second issue is either going to make the series or people will just walk away.
Yeah, so agreed on that.
Yep.
All right, so the next one we got, kind of sticking with the fairy tale motif, Cold Iron from Comixology.
Yeah, this one, I read this one first this morning, and it was kind of interesting because there's a lot of comics nowadays that really want to set the atmosphere. And they spend so much time setting the atmosphere for a book that they forget to actually give us a story.
Yeah.
This feels like that. This could be an incredible story. There's this older woman and her kid who pay tribute to a creature in the shadows, and that creature comes back, and that's interesting. There's something to do with the waitress, but it's just all so atmospheric and building up that they don't actually give us anything to sink our teeth into.
I think that one is actually a town called Harrow. I think that's the book you're thinking of.
Oh yeah, my brain scrambled today.
That's all right. This was a comicsology one. It's like a modern story with like folklore mixed in with it.
Yes, yeah, okay.
You know, and I like stories like that because I myself am not very familiar with a bunch of folklore. So it's always cool to me because when I learn something new or see something new like that, I will actually go and research and be like, well, what was this creature? And I'll go and I'll look at it and I'll read up on the history of it and stuff.
Right. This is the one with the woman who sings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I actually did like this one quite a bit. And yeah, it definitely has a lot of Celtic mythology in it. And I like that a lot. It definitely has that small town feel, like there's a whole world that she's going to bring us into, you know, and there's actually a connection to the woman she sees on the road feels like someone from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that, folks.
No,
It's been a long day.
Oh, I bet. Now, you know, looking at this art though, and the art's not bad by any means, but there's something that just scratches at the back of my brain. Like I've seen this in a book before. I've seen this art style before. Not very familiar with the artist on this,
Mm-hmm.
but it has like, I don't want to say a Mad or Cracked magazine kind of feel to it, but it's something very late 70s ish about it, maybe.
Yeah. It's got that underground comic feel to it.
There you go.
It's Andy Diggle. It's a good setup story. It reminded me of a friend of mine through most of this who is English, who has a heavy accent. I've talked to her on the phone or through Messenger a few times, and I have to kind of listen closely. But who's a singer as well, and it did remind me a lot of her, and that I think is why I connected with this book. The fact that it's called Cold Iron, though, makes me think that there's a Fae connection to this.
Yeah.
Between the mythos that they're tapping into and the term Cold Iron, which I read the Iron Druid books by Kevin Hearn, novels, and he's now doing a new series spin-off of that, and I was just listening to it last night. So the Iron Druid, about, you know, he uses iron to protect him from the Fae and stuff like that. So maybe that's why it's in my head, but it definitely seems to connect to that. So yeah, this is an interesting read. All the things I said before, that was Tales of Harrow County, I believe.
Yeah.
So save that. This good source book, I really liked it. Don't love the cover. And it's not so much I don't love the art. I like the art. I'm not a big fan of the logo and just the use of negative space at the top. Just seems kind of wasted. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I really did enjoy this one though, and I'm kind of excited, especially with how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see where this one goes. So
Yeah.
it's a good one to look out for.
All right. Let's go ahead and do the town called Harrow, since I already gave my thoughts on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Tales from Harrow County, excuse me.
There we go.
This is obviously a continuation of the Harrow County storyline. Again, we're following a waitress who seems to be being pulled into this world that it feels like she knows she's connected to that world, but doesn't want to be, and then suddenly decides, okay, and is being pulled back in. And then you have the story of the other creatures. But again, I don't get it. It just felt like if this is continuing something else, give me a hint. You got to assume that for every comic is somebody's first comic. That's an old Stan Lee quote. And in this case, you're picking up a number one. Give me something to tell me what, give me a little more. What about you, Jay? What did you think?
Well, I'm a little biased because I feel like Cullen Bunn can do no wrong. I love his writing. Now, to me, I thought it was a great story even without reading the first part of this. But there were things that I wanted to know more about. I wanted to know about the creature that was being offered fruit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know about the other creatures that came after that creature. It left me with a lot of questions, but in a good way. There's another book on this list that kind of left me with a lot of questions in a bad way.
Uh-huh.
This one is I got questions, but I like it so far. Like usually I'm lost if I don't read, the first part of something, but I felt like I could jump into this without really knowing too much more about.
Well, see, that's the thing is that I had similar questions, but I didn't get enough to make me care if I get the answers. No, neither one of us are Kyle. Kyle's doing his court-ordered, court-mandated therapy session because of the llama. But we're covering for him. He'll be back.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, it's probably one of those that's not for everyone. But there are some folks who are going to look at this, read it, and be like, okay, I can keep reading it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, Captain Obvious needed to show, Jay.
Oh, man. Okay.
What else we got this week?
We are going to talk about... where did it go? We're going to go with Transformers Last Bot Standing from IDW.
Let's have you run out on this one, lead out on this one.
Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about this book. From like the elf alien Western planet that we're on to, how do I root for this person I should be rooting for when his actions are like, what is happening? This is the book where I had so many questions, but not in a good way. I didn't know what the motivations were. And this is a number one.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if there was another story before this, but it has a very, like they're trying to do a Last Ronin, like they did with Ninja Turtles, but they're doing it with Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
I would read a number two just to find out what's going on and why. I'm just kind of on the fence with this one.
Did you recognize the Transformer?
I believe it begins with an R.
See, that's what is going to get people.
Mm.
You were missing a key component. And part of that key component is that you're like a decade and a half or more younger than me. The last Ronin is Rodimus Prime.
Well, I didn't want to give the name away. That's why I said R. I didn't know. I know it was Rodimus.
Or Hot Rod,
Mm-hmm.
who we meet in the Transformers the movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's anybody who grew up with that movie and that soundtrack, for God's sakes, will turn to that page and go, "It's Rodimus."
Oh yeah, I had that moment.
Yeah.
I was just still trying to figure out why he did the things he was doing.
Yeah, and see, that was enough for me to go, okay, where are we going? The fact that he's got what he does. You're right, but I mean, you can see him on the cover, so that's why I didn't hide his name.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It is an interesting. Please don't remind me of that soundtrack. Oh, come on, Richard.
Come on, Dare to Be Stupid. Come on.
Oh, not the Stan Bush stuff, man.
You got touch.
I was 16 when that came out. My God, I played that thing over and over again. Anyway, I liked it in the sense, because it was a weird story until then, and now I want to know what the hell's going on with, because I haven't been following the Transformers enough to know if they've done much with the character since then.
Yeah.
My pencil broke many times rewinding. So yeah, it hooked me. So I'm very curious to see where they're going with this. It could be a Last Ronin type thing. I didn't recognize the other Transformer we meet in this.
Me neither.
And maybe we weren't supposed to. Maybe it's just kind of a throwaway. But I'm definitely curious where this is going to go now.
Yeah.
Especially since, the elf lady delivery person. Yeah, I'm kind of curious where this is all going to go. But it is a unique book. And it's not one that it seems like you need to have current knowledge on the Transformers. You can literally have watched it, the movie 30 years ago.
Yeah.
35 years. Oh, fuck me. 35 years ago, and pick up on this and go, oh, what's going on with Rodimus?
Yeah.
So I liked it.
Very interesting. It is interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
What else we got?
This one right here is just because the Artisan edition, the more I find or I see these things, the more I love them. I'm not an art person either.
Yeah.
But, I just find myself every time we look at these, I'm like, man, I want this.
Yeah, I bring these up not because we're going to review the stories, because the stories are all been done in the past.
Yeah.
I bring these up because they're just fantastic from an art standpoint. This one, of course, is some of Meg Mignola's early Hellboy stories, Hellboy in Hell and Other Stories. One of them is interesting because it's unlettered, because it was digitally lettered, where the second one, or the second half of the book, is lettered, so you can read the story, but the first half isn't. And it's a chance to see Mike Mignola's work without Dave Stewart's coloring, which Dave Stewart is a fantastic colorist. Okay. But sometimes it's just really neat, really something special to look at just the black and white art as it was done, as it intended. And I always pull up this one because I got hooked on these kind of books. This is the Jack Kirby Artisan edition of Fantastic Four. And it's more of a size thing, because when these first came out, they do the artist editions, which are done by they're 11 by 17 books. And they're usually like $100 or $125. And they're fantastic because you're looking at the page like it was originally done.
Right.
Like it's the actual original art. But, you get these, the smaller ones they're still bigger than the comic page, but you still get to look at the art. Most of them have the lettering done on it because it's hand lettered. But they're also much cheaper. They're much more cost efficient. These, we're not supposed to talk price on here, but it's maybe a third of the artist edition. So they're more reasonable. There's something more people can get their hands on. But Mignola's art is just so stunningly gorgeous that when this popped up, I'm like, oh yeah, let's download that one. So it's more of a treat for Jay and I to be able to look through this than it is for us to review it because, we know these stories. They're fantastic. Yeah. There's a reason Hellboy has been around all these years and has been a beloved character and has had 2 different movies, both Ron Perlman and then David Harbour, because they're awesome. There's animated movies as well. Tad Stone's animated movies. So it's just great. I mean, you want to add anything to that?
Just that, I'm not like the biggest Hellboy fan, but I definitely like the character a lot. I have read many stories. I've watched all the movies, and I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen Hellboy drawn any other way in a comic unless it was like a fan doing something. Hellboy has always looked the same. But looks so good.
All right, let's drop into our quick commercial here, and then we'll come back and pick up the story. So stick around. We'll be right back with In Stores This Week.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code. There's a super new way to support your friends over at The Experience. Head over to YouTube and send us a super chat, a super sticker, or a super thanks. We'll be super grateful for your support. And then keep an eye out as we launch membership services over on YouTube. It'll be a great way to get first look access at new content and shows before anybody else. Keep your eyes peeled and make sure you're following us on YouTube. Get the inside scoop on everything happening at The Experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email inbox.
Welcome back to In Stores This Week. I'm Dan. That's Jay. Kyle's doing his court-mandated therapy session because of the llama incident. But we did get a lot of Kyle in the commercials, so that should tide you guys over until next week. Let's get back to it. We still have another 7 books to cover, so let's put it up.
First, let me fix that. There we go. All right, the next one I got up here, let's go ahead and do Vampirella Strikes, #1, Dynamite.
This is a huge book for Dynamite. This is Tom Stugowski picking up off of Vengeance of Vampirella. This is a title that they used to do over at Harris, so they're pulling back that title, the Vampirella Strikes. And they're putting a lot into this launch. This is kind of a fascinating. I read this one last, and it felt almost like a police procedural. Yeah. Like Vampy was the cop or the detective, and she even had a big trench coat on, which I thought was fascinating. But this is following up off the Vengeance of Vampirella series. The battle with Nyx and stuff like that. So it's a new jumping in point. It's a different feel for Vampy, but it's still really interesting. She's got compatriots. So it's a different world to play in. I thought the art was really good on it. I liked the writing. How about you, Jay? What did you think of the new Vampirella Strikes #1?
I liked it. This is one of those though that I guess just for me, since they made mention of it, it felt like it was supposed to be a part of a bigger story, or
Mhm.
this is the result of what happened. Okay. Uh, but like you said, I like the art. Um, the story was really good. The ending of this was enough to get me to read a second issue. Just the ending alone.
Yeah.
It feels like though this is a character kind of like how Red Sonja is for them. They have multiple titles going on at the same time, or did they already end one of her titles, or is there something else going on along with this?
Um, they they have different incarnations of her, basically. So,
Okay.
like the Vampirella we see in Vampirella Dracula Unholy is different from the Vampirella Strikes or the regular Vampirella series.
Oh,
There,
okay.
so, but this does pick up off of Vengeance of Vampirella.
Okay.
So, if you've been reading Vengeance of Vampirella, stay with Thompson Nagase over on this.
Yeah. And I will tell you, as somebody who has only read, I think, one of those issues, the Vengeance of Vampirella ones, I can tell you that you will still enjoy this. It might even, entice you to go back and get those issues and read it.
Mhm.
But yeah, this was a really good story. I can't wait for issue 2.
Yep, and there's some awesome covers.
Yeah,
I love that they now put all the covers in the back. There are
I,
some awesome covers.
I had to pick what I felt, other than being a blank cover, the safest cover to put up here. But there are some really nice covers.
Yeah,
All right, let's go ahead and go with that's the Sundown #2 from Vault.
this is a series that I'm still trying to figure out.
Same.
This isn't my favorite cover. This is a good cover, but the painter almost like book like novel cover one is probably my favorite. But this is the story of a vampire. She's trying to return to her where she was born. We find out she was born in a very unique way. Um, there's other supernatural creatures involved in this. This is from Tim Seeley,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a very unique universe that he's creating here. It's basically it's like the Universal monster movies thrown into the Old West, but not so much the same. It's just, well, here's a vampire, here's a werewolf, here's a patchwork man. You get those types of creatures, but in this whole new setting, focused around this character. Um, and her assistant, who's trying to help her, who seems very dedicated to her, yet not happy with his life choices.
Mm.
So this is a very unique comic. It's something that Volt, I think, should be very proud of. This is the type of book that is gonna put them on the map, get them a little higher profile. I would I would not be surprised to see this picked up for an adaptation. This could make an interesting series on Netflix or Hulu or something like that for one of those streaming services that doesn't have Marvel and DC. This would be a really neat streaming service series.
Absolutely.
What about you, Jay? What did you think?
The story is growing on me. It's not that I disliked the first issue, but it was unique, and unique is not always a bad thing. It just this issue just gave me a little bit more. So the story is really growing on me, and it's funny that you say Universal Monsters, because I actually in my notes had wrote down at the beginning we see another Universal monster. I am wondering if we're ever going to get what is the other person that was introduced at the end of the first one. Are they ever going to actually join the story? Or are they ever going to come into conflict with each other? Or are they just going to keep passing by each other?
Oh, probably eventually. Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I think instead of Universal, this has a little more Hammer horror feel to it. If you're a fan of the Hammer horror series, because they're a little more, Universal is a little more straightforward, where Hammer is a little more British and a little more intellectual. You know, and this kind of follows like an Old West version of a Hammer horror film. So I think that's probably a better, because Universal has this classic feel to the monsters.
Right.
And you expect that, where Hammer had their own incarnations, and it's more in that line. So I could totally see this being a Hammer horror thing.
Like I said, this one was kind of I skimmed around. This was the last book that I read, but I need to know what those folks were doing. I mean, I have a good idea what they were doing, but I need to know what they were doing. What the hell were those things everywhere? What is going on with that? So for me, I will likely not only go back and read this issue, but I'm impatiently waiting for issue 3, because I want to know what's going on with that.
Yeah. All right. Let's get another one up there.
We got, how about we talk about, boom, Avatar, Adapt or Die.
There has been a lot of talk about Avatar because, of course, we got the trailer for Waterworld. What is it?
Way of Water?
Way of Water, yeah. I want to say Waterworld, but I have to be honest going into this. I've never seen Avatar. And I've never seen it because I have zero interest in it.
Understandable.
Story-wise, it's Pocahontas in space or on another planet. All they ever sold me or tried to sell me on the movie was the look of it. And yeah, it didn't interest me. So reading this series or reading this issue, I don't know much of the backstory for it, but it's pretty straightforward. You know, it's not hard. You got humans and aliens trying to figure out if they're going to blend together. And it really does have this Native American feel to the alien race. It's a really slow read.
Yeah.
Very little happens. And then when it does happen, it felt very predictable.
Yeah.
Like everything was going one direction. It was too easy. So you knew something was going to go wrong. And it does.
Yeah.
And there really isn't that much more, at least for me, to say about this.
I got a little bit. I got a little bit more to add.
Yeah, definitely. Please. Go ahead.
So I haven't actually seen Avatar in like 10 years. It's been a long time. And I always said it, and South Park said it best. It's Dances with Smurfs. And this is coming from somebody who liked the movie. I liked it. Now, this is just one of those things where if you didn't like the first Avatar, if you think the concept is stupid, more than likely you're not going to like this comic. I mean, that's just fair. It feels, especially with how the characters are drawn. The characters drawn in this, they are so close to how they look in the movie. Like you can almost tell that the taller one is Sigourney Weaver. Like if you've seen the movie, you could tell it's Sigourney Weaver. Well, okay. If you saw it, because she dresses like that too, but the facial thing.
I didn't know Sigourney Weaver was in the movie.
Zoe Saldana, a lot of people. But I mean, the art in this book is very well done, very well done, and it's not like how the Betty Page thing was for the other book, where it's so realistic it takes away from it. All the characters look like this, so there's nothing there to throw you off. This does feel, though, like it is something that either takes place before the movie, or this is something that takes place way after. Like I hadn't really figured it out because some of the characters are there that shouldn't be there. No spoilers for anybody if you haven't seen a 10-year-old movie. But I liked it. I didn't think it was a bad first issue. So
yeah, I think it comes down to if you liked Avatar.
Yeah.
To me, the fact that they're pushing Avatar now seems really strange.
Yeah.
It'd be like if they came out with a Black Hole comic or a Space 1999 comic. It's like it's a little old.
A little late, folks.
Yeah. I mean, maybe wait until after the second movie came out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But all right, we got 4 books left. What do we got?
We got Betty Page, The Alien Agenda, #3. I personally have so much fun when we read these books. I love the fact that they've turned her, they still keep the sex symbol part of her, but they turned her into like an Indiana Jones type character. I love this traipsing across the globe adventures they're having. It's full of cliches at times. You have the one friend that's like, you need to ask 3 questions. And then you have the stupid one that says something that's a question. And she's like, oh, I didn't realize that was a question. Like almost every time there's a 3, like a riddle or whatever, your answers, you always have that one person that knows one of the answers.
I wouldn't say the word stupid. I'd say naive.
Naive. There you go. Yeah, that's a better way to say it.
Because they're all 3 of the characters are really intelligent in their field.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where, because when I read it, I was like, why would you do that? Why would you? And then I was like, well, it is a cliche and they're cliches for a reason. So naturally somebody's got to mess up somewhere. There was one little bitty nitpicky thing I had about the whole book. And that was, there was a part or a panel where Betty says, here goes nothing. And then not even 4, maybe 5 panels later, she says, here goes nothing again. That was my only little nitpick I had. I was like, why the redundancy? That was it though. Other than that, again, I have so much fun reading this one. So
it is really smart. It's funny. It's well written, well researched. And this is from an author or writer that I don't believe has done a lot of writing, which is Anamia. At least I know her as like an internet model, so I don't know much about her. So I have to, please forgive me for that. But there are little things that show that she's still a new writer, but they're technique things. Her content is really well done. The story she's bringing, the puzzles she puts into it, the dialogue, the characterizations, a lot of that is it comes across as someone who's been writing for a long time. So, again, from that point of view, I think it's when I first heard that she was doing this series, it felt a little bit like a stunt, oh, we're going to let this person write a book. Oh, we're going to let that person write a book. Oh, we're going to let this professional wrestler write a book. And some of them turn out great. And that's what this is. So I think it's being really well done. It's an interesting story. It's a little slow in the sense that we're 3 issues in, and it doesn't feel like we've really progressed a lot. That said, though, the stuff she does for the puzzles or the things she has to solve, they're clever. They're not, it's not the same riddles that have always been used. What walks on or 4 legs, then 2 legs, then 1 leg, or 3 legs. Oh, it's man. Ah, so and especially the room where every step they take, that was clever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cleverness in this book, and I'm impressed by that. Especially, I guess I never really gave the other Betty Page books that much of a chance because I didn't really get into what they were doing with the character, but this is really clicking for me, and I'm liking it.
Yeah.
So, all right. What else we got?
We have got, there's a book I want to save for last. So we're going to talk about Immortal Red Sonja, number 2 from Dynamite.
Yeah. This is, if you ever thought, I like Red Sonja, but I wish it was a lot more Arthurian. If they brought in more of the Arthurian legends, that would be the way to go with Red Sonja. Then this is the book for you. Because this is pretty much, first thing you see that Sonja is wearing a chainmail top. Now, a few years ago, they redid all of the main women of Dynamite and gave them different costumes. Mm-hmm. And it didn't go over great. They ended up going back. But the chainmail top was one of the things they did for Red Sonja. This not only brings it back, but makes it a crucial part of the story in that the chainmail top is cursed and is what's leading her on this adventure and is annoying the hell out of her because it doesn't stop talking. And, and it's probably somebody of. As in a lot of the components here are diving into Arthurian legend, but in a unique way with some twists. But I find this story really fascinating, and I love the David Nakayama cover. But it's a really interesting take on Red Sonja, and it's outside of all the normal Sonja stuff. This is a Red Sonja that if you just know the character, but you haven't read it in a long time, this when Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner were writing Red Sonja, it felt like Robert E. Howard was writing it. This is Dan Abnett, and this is a different feel. This definitely has more of an Arthurian legend or a Canterbury Tales setup to it. So if that's your thing, if you've never got into Red Sonja, but you like those kind of things, this might be the book for you to jump in on. And again, it's issue number 2, so the first one's still probably out there too. It's a great place to jump in. And it's been a really fun series so far. It shows Sonja in a different way, and I'm really enjoying it. How about you?
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying it as well. I do have, this is one of those books where I do have little bitty nitpicky things because Kyle says I love everything, so this is a personal one for me. So when the letter made the title above the page where she's riding her horse underneath it, mm-hmm. It was a little hard for me to read. And I think that it could have been because the preview copy thing was down. Could have been that. Yeah. I mean, it really took me a second to figure out what it said, but it felt very clustered. I mean, that's a personal nitpick thing. Also, I wish they would just lean into the dialogue one way or the other. This book, and I think the Sitha book is the other one, and I have no idea why I have a problem with this or why it bothers me. But if you're going to have half of your people talking in like olden times proper English sound, mm-hmm. but then have your character now Red Sonja in this one, she bounces back between speaking kind of modern, but then going back to the old English. And for me, I don't know why that gets me, but I'm like, I wish they would pick. Either she's going to speak like she's modern and everybody else around her speaks in the olden tongue, or she's going to speak the same way. But
I don't really notice her speaking the old tongue that much. Mainly seems modern, but yeah.
Well, it kind of feels like near the end with her Lion-O/God Country sword that she got.
Yeah.
It feels like when she's talking to the chainmail mainly, it feels like she has that dialect. But that being said, though, it doesn't bother me enough to where I'm like, this is a terrible book and I don't ever want to read it again. I do like the story. I do like where it's going. This is definitely one of those books for if you've never heard of Red Sonja, jump on this one. It's good.
All right. Let's do our last commercial real quick, and then we'll come back with our final two books. Be right back.
Ready.
Hey, everybody, we're back.
Still
But
got
we're
Betty up.
We're not talking about Betty Page. Get her off the screen. Get her off the screen.
Where are you at? Here, you know what? I'm just going to throw up another book in her place. How about that?
All right, we're down to the last two books.
Yep.
This is Jetty Zero Volume 2, Number 1, and it might help if you've read Volume 1.
Yeah,
I was a little lost on this. At the same time, though, I was having fun with the book.
Yeah.
And I'm confused about it. I don't know what's going on, but I was having fun with the book, which is not normal for me. But it is fun. I enjoyed it, and the character is maybe a little overpowered, or just a little Buckaroo Banzai. You know, it seems like she can do anything type of thing. But again, it's just fun. That's all I can say about this book is it was a fun read. I'd love to know what the hell's going on.
Same.
But it's just kind of an interesting world. There's triplets in there that I'm not sure what the hell they are. There's another lady that controls the triplets. There's like, I came out of this going, no idea what I just read, but I'd like to see the next issue, please.
Same. And the jumping back and forth in the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. I like the character, but she feels a little like generic tough female smartass number 12.
Absolutely. But for some reason, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so am I. Like, it
I
works.
should hate this book, but
It works.
it doesn't really give us anything. It just
Nope. Here you go.
yeah. It's kind of like they just vomited on the page and went here, and then we went.
Okay.
It's actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like one of my favorite things is the fact that you have these two, and I'm just going to say Asian because I don't know which culture. It's probably Japanese, but I'm not 100% sure. Two army guys being pulled into this weird thing that's happening with this alien artifact, and they've got a dog named Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah. So
and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that was great. And I will say this, because I don't have a whole lot to say about this that you hadn't already said. Super fun. Would definitely read the next issue. And that ending, though, that really has me intrigued.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy.
Yeah, I might go look for Jenny Zero Volume 1 just so I might be able to figure out what's going on.
Exactly.
And again, if we figure out what's going on, we might not like the book.
That's true. That is true.
So, all right, let's get to our final book because I can smell my dinner in the other room.
Awesome. Final book. Grimm #1 from Boom. I will go ahead and tell you my thoughts on this one.
Please.
I want this in my pull box now. I loved this book. Jessica Haro is this main Reaper that we're following. I love her attitude. She reminds me, Shanice on Minute to Skim It said something similar. She reminds me kind of like Death from the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
The personality is awesome. That Ruby-like scythe she has is dope. This has, to me, I'm probably overshooting it. I might be, but depending on how the next couple issues go, this could be the next Something is Killing the Children for Boom. This is my favorite thing we've read this week. You go ahead and go, because if I keep talking, I'm going to spoil it.
I will tell you that about halfway through the book, I don't know why it was being written. I just wasn't getting that into it. It's gorgeous. The artwork was really good. But I was just kind of it's like, okay. And then there's that twist. It's like the guy she's ferrying took something and suddenly I cared. And it got interesting. I didn't see that twist coming. And you're right. It does have a feel of Something's Killing the Children. It really depends on what they do next.
Yeah.
But there is something special here. And again, I didn't notice it until the last couple pages. That's when it got my attention. Because the rest of it was like,
I can see that.
Okay,
I can see that. But I like seeing the different Reapers and the little banter going back.
But basically everything up until they get to the waiting room.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's just like,
I can see that.
But when they get to the waiting room, things start getting interesting. It's like, first thing, when you die, you go to the DMV. It's like, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that.
That is a great way to put it.
Yeah. So this is a book that you need to give a minute, read the whole thing. And I think it's already sold out.
Probably.
So, yeah, I mean, this one has potential. If it catches on, I've never heard of this artist, Flaviano, but I'm impressed. And it's got a real good feel to it. So, yeah, I'm with you. I came out of it liking it much more than I did halfway through. So
I can see that. It's understandable.
Yep. Hey, we made it.
We made it with a little time to spare.
I know. And we did commercials.
I know.
Maybe the problem with the show is Kyle.
We did talk about all the books, right?
We did all the books. Okay. We did commercials. Oh, we didn't say like, subscribe, do those things?
Oh, we didn't do that thing.
But we have no shows after us, so we don't have to talk about what's on next. Tomorrow I'll be doing the Dan Wickline show with Danny Quick talking about his Kickstarter. And then on Thursday, I'll have Danita Parrish talking about her new book from American mythology. And I think we've covered everything. I think Kyle's just making us lag.
ComicShopLocator.com.
Oh, yeah, ComicShopLocator.com. By the way, if you didn't get over to Free Comic Book Day, check your comic shops. They may still have some of those books. So stop by and definitely visit with them. We got some great shows here on The Experience. Check us out on Twitch, on Twitter, on Facebook.
We try to be everywhere.
Also, by the way, Jay has a podcast they do on Fridays, which you should check out. I've been invited, and I had to decline this Friday, being that it's my ex-wife's birthday, and I'm going to be giving her a gift and cooking her dinner, because I'm weird that way.
Nah, it's a good guy.
Yeah, but I will be on the show soon, so check out Jay's podcast on the weekend, on Fridays. It's Jay and Jenna's podcast.
With Sean, it's called Triangle of Truth. It's all three of us.
Triangle of Truth. That's a rather pretentious title. I like it.
It sure is.
Yeah. That's as silly as Pop Go the Writers, which is what I do on Sunday. So, all right. So check out their podcast on Fridays. That's on where? Where can they see that?
It's just it's YouTube. It's just it's not really a podcast. It's just videos. Same thing like with Space Cadets and all that.
Yeah. So check out Triangle of Truth on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And also Pop Go the Writers on YouTube. I have that channel along with my other videos I do. And I think we're out of time. So remember, hit the like and subscribe buttons. And we will be back next week with more in stores this week. I'll be back tomorrow with the Dan Wickline Show. Thank you, and everybody have a great night. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.